As it was mentioned last week, Imam Ghazali says, as long as the content of any poetry is good, to engage with such poetry appropriately is also good. Our beloved messenger is reported to have said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, inna min 𝗟ci ḥikmah. Some forms of poetry certainly carry wisdom. In this section, Imam Ghazali brings an important point. He says hyperbole, to deliberately exaggerate, is part and parcel with poetry. It is understood that this exaggeration, this hyperbole, is to further beautify the meaning, to lay stress upon it. It's understood it's not to be taken literally. This does not count as lying. In this, Imam Ghazali brings a beautiful hadith. Our very dear mother, Sayyidah Aishah, تعالى عنها, she says, I was once sitting with the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and I was spinning some thread. All the while, the beloved Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was busy mending his shoes. She says, I laid my eyes upon him, and I noticed beads of sweat begin to form on his brow, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they began to emanate nur. 𝗣بُهِتُّ. I was in awe. And the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, looks at me and he says, مَا لَكِ يَا عَائِشَةَ بُهِتِّ. Oh Aisha, what happened? You seem perplexed. And I responded to him that as you were toiling away mending your shoes, I noticed that beads of sweat began to form on your brow, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they began to sparkle with nur. If only the great poet 𝗛𝗶𝘀 𝗟عني laid his eyes upon you, he would know that his lines of poetry are actually for you. And the beloved messenger inquires, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, what does 𝗛𝗶𝘀 say? And Sayyidah Aishah responds, he says, فَإِذَا نَظَرْتَ إِلَىٰ أَسِرَّةِ وَجْهِ. If you were to lay your eyes upon the lines of his forehead, بَرَقَتْ كَبَرْقِ الْعَارِضِ الْمُتَهَلِّلِ. They flash like the lightning cloud in the sky. And as she says this, the beloved messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, becomes filled with joy. And he approaches her and he kisses her between her eyes and he says, جَزَاكِ اللَّهُ يَا عَائِشَةَ عَنِّي خَيْرًا. O Aisha, on my behalf, may Allah reward you. مَا سُرِرْتِ مِنِّي كَسُرِيرِ مِنْكِ. He says, I am more pleased with you than you are with me. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless us all to recite poetry in praise of our beloved messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then bless us to be recipients of his pleasure with us, sallallahu alayhi wasallam.